on the beat.
Welcome to the Supercoach Take podcast. We are 9 rounds in, and really exciting podcast today because we have a special guest, and I'm not sure he's even a guest anymore. I think he's a mainstay now. But JD, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me back again. Twice in 1 year. Wow, we're on a real roll.
You're inviting yourself now. And Enno, how are you, mate?
George, mate, good as always.
Great to have you boys on. And for our week, we all had a poor week, just for whatever reason. Fortunately, we have bows. Bloody bows.
I bet you at least, so I'll take that.
Okay.
Little wins, mate. Sorry, I need something.
I guess you got to take it when it comes. It's probably not going to happen too often.
Nope.
But the agenda for today, the forward line is super important because I actually think the biggest discussion point this week is planning for Dangerfield now that he's coming back early. Speak about Heaney, a few others, midfielders. Are we going to go for those, Lions types, or are we going to go for a cheaper option? Defenders as well. Again, pretty big, almost as big as Dangerfield, I think. But Lockie, Whitfield, bit rusty at the moment, but still scoring well in other formats, but not so much Supercoach. And then we'll go over the rookies. There's no downgrade option, so do we pay more for RCD, stuff like that? So I think this week is super critical. And we'll go straight to the forward line. And I think the first thing I want to speak about for me is Dangerfield. So I'm looking at my forward line. I have 5 primo forwards plus Atkins. And I don't have Zorko. I'm betting against Zorko, which has gone terribly wrong. But now that Dangerfield's coming back, we believe after his buy round, break even of nearly 200, he's coming down in price. I feel like given, he's been able to rest those groins and he only has to play half a season, I think he should be able to piss in a 105 to 115 average, somewhere in between there. Start with you, JD. Are you planning for Patrick Dangerfield at the moment?
Yeah, so I wasn't, but the news that he is going to return earlier and be available around the buys means that he is absolutely going to be in my team, for sure. I don't see how you. We've been looking at options like Hind, Atkins, Bailey Dale. And these are all people that the upsides maybe a 95, maybe 100. And if you are picking one of them over Danger, you're going to be losing 10, 15 points a week. Danger's already got some poor scores, I think, in his average as well. So he should come down in price. So yeah, if he does get back before the buys, he's absolutely someone that I'm going to be targeting, and I think everyone else should be too.
Similar boat for you, Enno?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with JD. I think the floor of Danger is what we expect the rest of these guys to average. So worst case, he plays a bit more forward, but I don't really see that happening with the way their forwards is working at the moment. So if he's good to go, he's playing midfield, and when he comes down in price to low 500s or even mid 500s, I just think it's a no brainer to snap him up if he looks injury free.
I'm very much the same. I think it's kind of thrown out a few of my other plans though, because I think I need to find money for Dangerfield. So we'll speak about midfield after, but going for a 600 plus K mid, I might have to go someone cheaper to get Danger in. I think it's probably worth it, to be honest, but we'll let that play out over the next few weeks. But yeah, I think we have to get him in. I think it's going to hurt too much in the back half of the year. His back half last year was unbelievable. And, at any point in time, he can drop a 170. So I think, we're all planning for Dangerfield, and probably in that last buy round when he's had 2 price drops, or possibly the week after, we'll see. But he has a good buy as well, which helps.
The 200 break even, so I think it is looking at 200s, 110s. He gets to 550, 560. So
okay,
maybe a slow game, just in the first game could help that more. But so he'll be around that sort of area.
Okay, so 550 is still a lot for a forward.
It is. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think it has to be done though. Moving on, so I think we'll move to Aaron Hall. Now, this is I owe you big time for this one, JD. I think he's must-have now, and I understand the risk associated with him, which is injury most part. But I think he can hold the role down. I don't think that he'll get a role change. I think he's must-have, even though, yeah, even with the durability, I think his ceiling is too high. And even at 450k, I still think he's a reasonable buy at that price. So, would you guys consider him a must-have, or do you think you can get away with not having him, JD?
So I guess the reasons why he isn't a must-have are if you want to bet against the injury risk. If you're looking for that point of difference to like the top 100 or 1,000, I've already jumped on him. Or you're worried about like the first buy, which isn't really a problem too many have, but he does share the same buy as Zeeble and Impey. So if you're looking to maybe pick up points during the buy round, like maybe I could see someone trying not to get him because of that. But in terms of role scoring potential and whatnot, like from what we've seen so far, he's absolutely a top 6. And it actually seems to be like hurting Zeeble, who was, up until this point looking like he was going to be the forward number 1. So I think it's going to be really hard not to get him.
Yeah, he's going to go up in price, so it would want to be this week, I think. So you don't have Hall at the moment, Eno. You had a few other things to deal with. Is he one you're looking at this week?
Thanks for the jab. Yeah, no, he's coming in, mate. I think he has to. He's averaging, 33 touches in that role or something over 4 or 5 games. Yeah, I probably should have got him last week over Titch, but that's another topic. 47 break even. I've sort of got to get him now because if he keeps that role, which I think he will, and plays a year out, he's going to be 500 plus probably for most of it. So I think he's got coach's votes the last 3 weeks as well. So he's not just playing a role, but yeah.
Every week he's played that role. Every week he's played the role. He's scored coach's vote. So I can't see them.
No, because he's not just playing like a Zeeble. Obviously Zeeble's. I'm not saying Zeeble's playing badly, but he's actually playing very well as getting, the touches and the role he's playing. So there's no way that changes. And then injury would be the only thing. So I think I have to get him this week. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would be planning for him too. So we'll go to another halfback. So Nick Hind. So this is an interesting one. I've liked Nick Hind a lot. I wasn't sure on his ceiling until probably last week. I don't think he even scored that well last week, but he had the 29 touches. And then this week he scored 126 and was probably get Brownlow votes for the game. I'm bringing in Hind. One of the biggest things for me was I look at his draft profile and it says work ethic. So that for me says a lot. And it speaks volumes to, he's been consistent in the VFL, was 6th in that MVP or whatever the award is. And every game this year, I think 20 plus disposals, thereabouts. Very consistent player. So I think you can expect if he goes, he's currently averaging 93. I think he's getting better and better every game. I can see him probably low to mid 90s from here on out, 450, not as much value as he was. So I don't think he's a must have, but I feel safe with him because I know he's not going to move in another role. He's too good not to be used at halfback, and he's filling that void of Sard. Are you guys looking at Nick Hind? Start with you, Eno.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you brought in Hind or Hall and then looking at the other this week, that would be perfect. So like what you're doing. Obviously, I'm going Hall, so I'll probably skip him for now. And looking at his scores, he did drop a lot of 90s and even a few 80s and 1 ton until the big game on the weekend where he's probably best on, honestly. So I think I might be able to get him later, maybe post-buy, see how the forwards shape out, with Danger and whatnot coming back. See if any other injuries happen with the cursed forward. So, it's a great option. I'll definitely be looking at him later on, I think. What about you, JD?
I was originally pretty anti-Hind, and I tend to try and be anti-Essendon picks anyway, just because I've got like such a strong bias towards the team that I don't want to accidentally overrate them and suggest a whole bunch of dud Essendon players, right? And I think the thing that George said that stuck with me is that Hind just seems to be improving every week, and you can see it watching the game as well. Like it doesn't just seem to be like he's hit a bit of form or anything like that. It's more that this young Essendon team that's under a new coach, you can see them clicking more, understanding each other's roles. And Hind does a lot of the stuff that Rutten had been talking about at the start of the year when it comes to like blue collar team that tackles hard. Like he'll run 50, 60 meters just to be there for a tackle, which is pretty impressive, and then jump up and keep running. So he's just like he's one of those players that you love to have on your team because he plays for the team, does lots of unselfish stuff. And, luckily for us, that's still translating through to good Supercoach scoring. So he's someone that you could enjoy watching and get good Supercoach points on. In terms of, am I considering him for my team? So I currently have Zeeble, Hall, Impey, and Dusty, trading in Dusty this week. So those are my 4 forwards. I've got 2 spots left. I think Danger is 1. And then I guess for that 6th one, I'd really like to have Zorko, but there's a 50k difference, and that's probably going to get more. So could I see myself putting in someone like Hind there instead? I think so. Especially if it meant waiting a week or not, I'd probably go for Hind. The thing that I do like with Hind over Impey, Hall, Zeeble, Danger, and Dusty, and Zorko is he's the only one that doesn't have immediate injury history. All the others have injury history in the last year or two. So from that perspective, he seems the safest. His role is secure. His injury history doesn't exist. So those are the things that make me think wow, maybe he is actually a really good pick, even if he isn't going to average you 100.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say on durability is he has copped a few knocks early in the year. I think shoulder in the preseason, and then he had a calf cork. But he played, so he was all good. But I don't think that's something I'd worry about. There's no soft tissue history or anything like that, which is the main thing. So yeah, I feel quite safe with Hind, and I love watching him play. He's a player that's kind of fun to watch as well. So yeah, he's in my team this week. Would I get? I mean, I would probably prefer Zorko for his scoring. I kind of want to back in Hind though. Zorko should outscore him, but I think Zorko's had a few easy fixtures, and it gets harder. And Zorko loves the easier teams, so we'll see how that plays out over the next few weeks. But Zorko should outscore him, but I'm backing in Hind.
George, if you're one of those teams that didn't have Impey, for example, right, and there are a few out there, would you rather have Hind than Impey?
I don't know. I think they average the same, low 90s. I think Hind is. I'm not sure. I think Impey's giving us a few 80s and stuff. Honestly, I can't split them. I would go whoever suits you by. I think there's probably 2 to 3 points difference within those players. Maybe does Impey slow down? Because he hasn't really done a full season of premium scoring, whereas Hind's done in the VFL, which I guess I don't know if you want to count that or not, but I trust Hind a bit more to keep this up than I do Impey, if that makes sense. Honestly, I don't know if I'd go whoever suits you by. With out of those two, I think you're splitting hairs there. But yeah, interesting one. But yeah, if you don't have Impey, I'd still be looking at him. I think he was D2 last week. No, F2.
Impey's kicking is really fallen off. I just pulled up sort of his numbers. He's handballing a lot more, getting more touches because of he's handballing more, but his kicking sort of dropped off a bit. He was getting 18, 19, 20 kicks a week. Now it's 14, 13, 7 last week. I don't really know what happened on the weekend, but yeah,
mate,
I don't know.
Hawks capitulated on the weekend. Come on, you own one of the main culprits.
No, I didn't watch the game, but I know what happened. But he's still playing defense, so I don't know. He'll be fine though.
It's weird because you kind of got to have Impey, but now at his price, it's Impey's averaging a bit higher at the moment, but I still think there's going to be not much in it with those two. Anyway, Dustin Martin, 420k. Sounds pretty free to me. I'm bringing him in. I don't trust him fully, but for 420k, given his ownership, feels like a low risk, and 420 is it's just so cheap, and I couldn't get anyone under. I couldn't get another 450 player, so for me, I'm bringing Dusty in, and yeah, I'm not even too concerned if he goes poorly a few times when I get him in. 420k, he'll have a few big scores, so see how that goes. But I know, JD, I think you're getting in Dusty this week. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I haven't thought about this twice. The thing I wanted to see was him hitting a bit of form, and we got that in spades on the weekend. Him being able to stand up and look good kind of after what's happened to him with the concussion and whatnot. So, I'm really confident. At 425, he's low risk. We are probably some of the privileged few that didn't start him. So I appreciate it's probably not a forward that everyone's looking to bring in this week. But yeah, I think if you don't have him at 425k, he's a must-have. And I'd I'd probably prioritize him over Aaron Hall as well.
I don't think he's actually must-have.
At 425k, like come on, we're talking about Hind at 450 being interesting. Dusty at 425, yes please.
Okay, fair enough. I can see him rocking up half asleep a few times, though.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's definitely going to happen, but Tigers is about to hit that midpoint in the year where everything clicks and they go on their run and Dusty hits his finals form and just bangs out hundreds for the rest of the year. So I'm not really worried about too many poor scores. I'd be much more worried about him hitting that form and me not being able to trade him in that week or the next one for whatever reason and him just getting out of range awkwardly. That's what scares me much more. So while he's there and I can do the trade, like, I'm absolutely jumping on.
Thoughts, Anno?
It's weird because I can bring him in easily over Hall because I need to get a defender as well, so I can only be one of them. I mean, he was awesome on the weekend, unbelievable, but I think I just bet against it in my position. If anyone doesn't know, I'm about 5k, so it doesn't really matter what I do, but I think I just leave him and he'll probably still be around. It won't be that cheap because I think someone on Discord said it's as cheap as he's been in like 6 years or something, so yeah, he'll bounce straight back up, but maybe I can still get him sub 500 at some point. Maybe next week. I think I just get Hall before he rockets anymore, and then maybe get Dusty next week. See how he goes against Brisbane. But yeah, bringing him in this week is absolutely a great call for Dusty. So,
I mean, he's break even 70, so it's like it's not good. Like he's going to be out of reach.
Okay, So I'm bringing in Hall for sure over him, but. Geez, that's weird to say, but yeah.
I mean, if you're planning to go them in back-to-back weeks, then like I can understand like playing the break-even game makes more sense.
Our man Lang did raise it too. He only scored 120 from 4 goals and match-winning performance. Sort of seems like it should have a 150, but he keeps butchering it.
Yeah, I think he drifts forward a lot and doesn't tackle much, so it's like he's kind of out of the game at periods. But yeah, when he gets those high-impact moments...
He just missed his scaling. He just 20 points in a play.
Yep. We'll move on to Isaac Heaney.
Oh, sorry, George. Just before you do, like, for the unfortunate few that traded in Marshall, right? You've got to trade him, yeah?
Yeah, of course. He's surgery. You don't know what's going to happen now. You can't hold a player like that over the buys in the next few weeks. It's too damaging.
All right, so who's your number one trade to for Marshall?
Aaron Hall.
And then
this probably, I don't know if I want Dusty or Hind. I know it sounds silly, but I like Hind a lot. I think Dusty at his price, I guess. And then if probably go on Hall and Dusty, then you might not have room for Hind, and you got to make room for Danger. So I guess you got to have Zorka as well, but whatever. I don't have him. So I think Hall is first. I would be doing Hall.
At his price, I'd still have Zorko behind Hall and Dusty at the moment.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah. I think the break-even sort of just settle it for me with Dusty still being 70. I think Hines and Halls are 40. So, yeah, just before they sort of get out of reach, no one really wants to be bringing in forwards for 500 this year. So, I think you can still get Dusty maybe 450 next week if he doesn't go too big.
No, if he goes 130, he'll be less than 450, I think. No, he'll be about 450 if he goes 130. Yeah. That's still fine.
Yeah,
it's
correct.
25k. So Isaac Heaney 340k. This is a joke. What do you guys think? Anno?
Your man. 2 years ago he played the whole year, and I held him the whole year, and because we had so many rookies that year, and it was a good year. He ended up being on my bench, and he had the forward mid, so I was sort of swinging in between there. Didn't really need him because no one got injured, but that's sort of the last full season he's played. Last year hampered. This year he's already missed, is it 2 or 3 games? So I just think the price is awesome, and he's a star. He's still one of my favourite players. I just think he definitely misses more games, I think, at some point. And Sydney is sort of starting to... I mean, they've already shown signs for probably a month that they're falling off. They probably still just make the 8, I think, because no one sort of jumps in. And I haven't really looked at their run, but I think it's not too bad. So if you're super struggling and you need like I could go Stuart Heaney this week, or I can go Hall and Daniel, or something like that, because of where my cashes out, like what would you prefer as a pairing?
Hole and Daniel.
Yeah.
Well, why
Yes.
would you pick Heaney, honestly? He's a forward now. He gets injured all the time. He punches someone and then he comes out with an ankle injury. And
Yeah.
then Longmire has to defend him in the media to say, oh, yeah, he pulled up okay this week. And he doesn't do much training during the week. He's broken. I'm
Yeah.
done with this pick. I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, okay, so I'll try and mount an argument for him, but just for the record, I don't think he's a good pick at this point in the year because I don't think he's a top 10 forward and the injury risk is too high. All right, so I think, like, if you are interested in Henny, first of all, wait a week, right? He's break even 75. The likelihood that he does a 140 and burns you is so low. He's only going to go up a little bit, if at all. So waiting the week absolutely makes sense. But their fixture is Freo and Carlton the next two. Then St Kilda, which is not so great, but then Hawks. So in the next 4 games, 3 of them he should score well in. But then after that, you've got Port, West Coast Bulldogs, and Giants back to back to back, which is all bad schedule. So at his price, he does have the history of scoring well, but I think with the injury history, the bad buy, right? Sydney's in the last buy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just don't see why you'd be picking him over some of the other options unless you're really desperate to finish your team. I mean, and for league players, it's absolutely a no. Just don't do it.
Yep. It's just everything. It's look, to be honest, he's probably the best player at that price, but that's what
Easy.
you get. Look, I think he can go 80, but for how long?
His history isn't atrocious. Obviously, like the last year and a half it is with missing games. But as far as scoring goes, he'd be right on par.
In the past 2 years, there's been an issue every 6 weeks. A new one.
Oh, no, injuries. Yeah, I know.
So
I'll tell you what,
I think he's reliant on. So go on.
He's going to look very interesting as an option next year because he's going to be cheap. Swan seem to be on the uptick. They've got other forwards that have to rely on Buddy, so you might get more midfield time. The rumours will start again. He's going to be an absolute trap next year. I'm going to love it.
I'm just going to ignore him.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, he's a forward as well, and he's not a downhill skier in the midfield role, but in the forward role, he relies on beating up on the easier teams and kicking bags of 3 a bit more, if that makes sense. But yeah, if he's fully fit playing midfield, I'd panic and I'd bring him in, but it's not the case. So move on. Now, is there any world where we downgrade, say, a Zeeble to a whole bank 130, 120k, or to Dusty bank 150k? Jay-Z's overpriced at the moment since Hull's gone back. Is this doesn't interest me. I just think I don't have the trades for it for a start, and I still think Jay-Z will be top 6. If Jay-Z goes down, he's copped 2 minor injuries already, and you trade him out, it'll be a bit of a masterclass because he'll drop big time in price. But that's just guessing. So I don't see a world where I downgrade Jay-Z to get money. But if you're really struggling for money, is that something you could look at? Do you think?
I think it's something someone like Baps in our Discord would look at, and I don't think he would do it at all, and I don't think he should. But because he's got, I think, only 3 rookies left on the field, and a few trades, it's
Rank 20, I think.
Ranked 20th, but that's something risky that he could look at. But I still don't think he should do that. Yeah, sure, he drops off to maybe 100 something average as opposed to in the 110, 120 range, but that's still a top 6 forward and comfortably probably top 3. So. Doesn't really matter. Just hold on to him. We don't have the trades or luxury of doing that sort of at this point in the season either. So, no, it's just a no from me.
Same for you, JD.
If there was a week to do it, it'd be this week, given the lack of rookie options to downgrade to. But there's not enough other good forward options that doing that makes sense. It's not like it's obvious who would be replacing him in the top 6, and it's just really obvious that you should trade him out to replace him with a Hind, for example. So I just can't see the trade making sense. It probably is just smarter just to hold a trade if you're in that situation and attack it next week when rookies present themselves rather than wasting a trade on trying to do smart stuff with Zeeble.
Yep. So move on to the midfield. So because of planning for Dangerfield now, it's kind of thrown my midfield plans out the window. I wanted to get Bontempelli and Lyons, and now it's like, well, if I want to get Danger, I have to give one of those guys up. I'm not giving up Bont, so I have to give up Lyons. So for your final midfield upgrades, so I guess if you don't have McRae as well, there's Bont, McRae, probably Guthrie Lyons are the main four. I think Guthrie Lyons are really, really low ownership, and Bont's isn't super high, I think. I think people preferred McRae earlier in the year, but are you guys planning for these big dog mids? And if so, how many? Otherwise, would you look at cheaper options, JD?
So I have Bont, which is nice. I've got 2 spots left in my midfield. So I'm currently sitting on Bontempelli, McRae, Oliver, Walsh, Merritt, and Brayshaw. So I've got 2 spots left. I think I'm trading in Steele this week because at 570k, 114-ish average, that just seems like a no-brainer. And then I'll have 1 spot left, and it is looking at, like, do I want Lyons? Do I want Guthrie? Do I want someone else, like a cheap option, like a Titch after his bye? And I'm not really sure yet. I'm actually kind of hoping that I can leave this trade and for a little bit of time, and then, like, pick up whoever gets cheap or whoever becomes the obvious option. I guess with Lyons, the thing that I worry about a little bit is Neil will eventually come back, and or Lyons will start getting attention. And then with Guthrie, you kind of have the same problem with Dangerfield coming back. Does it take away midfield time, given it doesn't really seem to me that they need to rest Danger in the forward line anymore? And this is a premiership tilt year. Don't you just put him in the midfield? So both of these picks have the feeling to me that you could be paying 650k for someone that then just averages 105 to 110, which is quite bad. So, like, I guess if you were looking at those two and then Bont, I would probably pick Bont of the 3. But I could also see Guthrie and Lyons avoiding all those risks and just carrying on for the rest of the year. So that's a very long-winded way of saying I don't know outside of I think Bont's pretty good. I'm not sure which of the other big ones I want, or if I just continue to go without them.
I don't think they'll go as low as 105 in terms of Guthrie and Lyons when their players come back, Neil and Danger. It's a bit hard to tell what the correlation is. Maybe I think they'll go 110 plus, but maybe not the current, low 120s. Bont, I don't care what the price is. I'll pay it for Bont. I think back half of last year, nearly went 140 or something. He's not getting tagged. And remember, he was 115 average or something last year, and he got tagged about 6 or 7 times. Yeah, that was mostly early in the season. So for me, I pay whatever for Bont, and then by some miracle, I have money for the other 2. I can grab one of them. If not, I might look at like a Petrarca for low 500s. I have Steele already, so I can't really jump on him. But yeah, I'm not sure I want Tom Mitchell. He's very confusing. He's up and down scores. One minute he looks like the old Titch, the next he looks like whatever this form of Titch is, more uncontested. So
Shit, I like to call it.
I can't make sense of it. Maybe it's the breakup with his girlfriend. Maybe someday he's just not feeling it. I have no idea. It's the only way I can explain it because it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Enno, are you looking to bring in guys like Bont in, or are you looking more at budget options, or both?
It's so annoying because I think Steele would be an automatic in if his buy wasn't the worst. I think JD must be able to deal with it better than me because I don't think I can do that. That's why I've avoided Mills up until this point, which is still killing me. But yeah, I think that I've got 2 spots. I think it's Bont and Steele is who I want. They're the ones I trust the most. Guthrie and Lyons, they're just max, I think, at their price at this point. Whereas Bont is a bloke that should, can be around that price for a season because he's that good. So I think he's one I want eventually, hopefully maybe a bad game at some point, which isn't really looking likely. But Steele looks very appealing. So if your buys are right around 14, I'd be bringing him in for sure. And then the rest, I don't like the outlook of. Jelly, is he one we should talk about at 540 after a couple of big weeks? He's playing well. He's playing super well, but I don't know if I could do it to myself.
Well, with Jelly, he's just played the Bombers, who are easy to score against, and the Crows, who have no matchup for star midfielders. Yeah, so I think, is it Oliver versus the Crows this week? That's automatic VC for me. Anyway, I know you have a rough relationship with Leon Cameron, JD, but Jelly's playing well. It kind of hurts because you traded him out at the worst possible time, but you didn't know when this forward bullshit was going to end. What do you think of Josh Kelly going forward? Is he someone it's not Kelly's fault, it's the coach's fault, but is he someone you're looking at, or just no way?
Yeah, I'll never say a bad word against Josh Kelly because he's a great player, and I enjoy watching him play. And he's had a bunch of really great games this year, including game-winning goals. But Leon Cameron, mate. So I still think he should be avoided. I think in the short term he's going to continue to score well. Most people kind of predicted he'd score well against the Tigers, and I think he'll continue to score well. And I'm pretty sure they've got North after their bye as well. So yeah, that's good. But I am quite worried about what happens when other midfielders return. So Cogs, for example, Daniels after his hamstring, whether or not they want to continue to use Haynes on the wing when he returns from his hammy, which should be this week or next week as well.
I think it's this week, yeah.
Because if you look at the midfield, right, like Hopper and Green are just two contested inside balls that should be there pretty much the whole game. Cogs and Taranto need CBAs as well. They like throwing Daniels through there as a change of pace. I see it as a really easy option for them to push Jelly back out to the wing or into that half-forward role for pretty much the rest of the year, where they've continually said they like him playing that role. They think he's great in that role. Yes, he gets a few less touches, but he's damaging. He does his stuff around goal. Now, there is the potential that he still does have upside in that role compared to the start of the year. The start of the year, he was getting average 95, right? But as soon as Whitfield's come back, all of a sudden people are looking for Kelly on the outside where they weren't previously. So maybe there is still upside even after the other mids return. But I just think there's too much role risk for me to want to bring him in.
Yep, definitely the role risk. But yeah, so too much risk for us. I think there's just a lot of bulletproof options in the midfield. His buy's nice, but yeah, I agree. We can move on. Okay, just quickly, Adam Chera is one that we can look at for 400k. I don't think we need to discuss this, but if you are looking for someone in that price range, Adam Chera is the one you go to straight away. So we can move on to the defenders. I think we've lost JD briefly. He's got to look after the kid, but should be back hopefully. Fingers crossed. But yeah, defenders. So I have 2 defender slots left. I must be the only one with 2 defender slots because I feel like people have had 5 defenders from the get-go. Now I've gone from 5 to 4, and it's halfway through the season. So a bit of shenanigans back there, but the obvious one, I think, is a bit like Dangerfield. Well, now we have Lockie Whitfield's come up. I like Lockie Whitfield's averaging 93 in Dream Team, which gives me a lot of confidence. Watching him play, he's absolutely torched the ball quite a fair bit. Is that because he's had a bit of a break? Maybe. Something we'll continue to monitor. But if Whitfield gets to under 500, I remember I brought him in for 440 last year, and he was unbelievable. He went 110 plus for me. That was a huge reason why I was able to time that trade really well. And also the buy rounds, it's just perfect. You get him after the buy. I'm planning for Whitfield. I hope he can play. I think the eye test is okay. It's just he's butchering it, and he said he said himself he needs about a month to get match fit. Are you looking at Lockie Whitfield coming up, Anno?
It's tough because like the other guys you were talking about with 6 defenders already, and then Bose I have to trade to someone this week. It'd be nice if he was cheaper at this point, but he's someone I just think I have to. Yeah, I can't really get him. What is he? 5'18". I think it's just short. I'm just not confident in him yet either. Like you said, only with a couple of games back. But yeah, you could, if he gets to around 500-ish, you could time it perfectly, like you said last year, and he could just go bang. Because we know he's got that capability. So yeah, for me personally, I can't really target him. But yeah, there's absolutely no problems as to why you can't.
It's an interesting one. I've even thought about running Laird at M8 and then running Stewart and Whitfield in the defence.
Something I can do to get him in.
Yeah. JD, you with us?
Yep, I am with us.
We are talking about big Lockie Whitfield. You
That
get
is a
your
yes.
fan in.
So I am absolutely waiting for Lockie Whitfield to finish bottoming out, and then I'll be bringing him in. I unfortunately had to miss out on May, just missed out on the cash. So Whitfield has been the obvious replacement for me. I need him for my buys. I know you mentioned that, like, oh, how am I going to get someone like Steely? And well, I have to rely on finding people in that first buy to kind of make it work. So Whitfield's the one I'm planning for. 2 years, 3 years of great Supercoach scoring history. He's just at that point where he's still working back into the game. I think after missing the first 7 rounds or 6 rounds, whatever it is, he's averaging 8 marks a game and 24 touches, something ridiculous like that. As George said, he just needs to kind of clean up his disposal efficiency. He's currently like 14 points, I think, negative DT versus Supercoach, whereas in other years, like, he's basically draws about even. In the COVID year, it was above, but all the other years, his DT and his Supercoach generally end up being about the same. So to me, that says that, like, his Supercoach scoring should come up a fair bit more in the coming weeks once he kind of, like, gets back to match fitness and all that. So yeah, after their bye, right, in round 12, they've got North, Carlton, Hawthorn as the first 3. Then they've got the Demons, which is not so great, but that's followed up by Gold Coast, Swans, Essendon. So 6 of the 7 games after the bye are against, like, bottom 8 teams, basically. So yeah, I'm really planning to get Whitfield, and I kind of hope he starts to turn his form around in the next couple of weeks against some of the better teams in West Coast and Brisbane.
Sign me up. I would even put Laird at M8 for that, I think. Even though that kind of hurts me, but for his price and given I have to pay for Dangerfield, I think I'd actually do it, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely planning for Whitfield. So one player we missed, I guess, is Callum Mills, and I know you were really close to getting him in back when he was 520, but he's D1 this year, and Salem I think is D2 roughly. So a lot of us don't have D1 and D2, and then there's Rich as well. So Callum Mills he's sort of a must-have, but because of his buy and because I think most people have already filled the defense out and they probably want to finish it over the buys, flip like a Highmore or Murphy or a Butts in that last buy round. Are you guys looking? Start with you, JD. Are you looking to get Mills in? Is it possible? And do you think you'll be okay if you can't get him in?
So I've got 2 spots left. I need to trade Bose out, which I'll do next week, not this week. So I'm looking at Stewart and Whitfield as the last 2 purely because of buys. I don't think I can get Mills in. If I had a free trade and I could get rid of, like, Short for him, I probably would. But I'm really
Shorty.
Yeah, well, I think he's probably my worst averaging defender after I get Stewart and Whitfield in. So yeah, I just I can't see myself getting Mills for the rest of the year. Does it hurt? Probably, but in terms of positions where I'd like to upgrade my worst performer for someone better, that one's not the one I'm going to lose sleep over. But for anyone that started Mills, like, well done. Like, that's just amazing. I don't know how you can pick someone that's concussed in the preseason that had all this roll risk and get rewarded with the D1, but well done to you.
Tiny bit of salt there.
No, not at all. No, really?
You're saying that people that started Mills don't deserve it?
A little bit. I mean, Ridley was the deserved D1, and
No,
anyway.
it wasn't. No, not one Ridley owner thought they were going to get a 140 average for the first month. That's shameful.
I did.
All right, any plans?
Yeah, I was gonna bring Mills in round 3, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. No, he's a gun. He's an absolute gun. It's just sad. I probably can't end up with him again. Just like Whitfield. Maybe it's the one I move to the mids for Mills after the buy if I'm feeling it. If he's cheap enough, but that doesn't really look likely, does it? So it's painful. But yeah, I'm saying well done to people who got him in. He's 560k, man. What? Far out, 112 average. There's nothing really you can do at this point. just hope he has a poor game, which isn't really looking likely. So
It can
Yeah.
happen. He had a
it
few
can,
dumps earlier.
it can, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He's he's in super form. He's like their best midfielder now, which is crazy.
I wonder if we could look at him in the midfield next year. That's how good he's gone. Who
Hot
knows?
take, but yeah, maybe.
Maybe he's got another gear. Anyway, Caleb Daniel is 470 odd. I know you're bringing him in, Eno. I know I was not a believer.
Well, it's him or the other
You are
guy
the
put next to
president.
him, just because of price. So yeah,
Here's the thing with Daniel.
Midge.
Watching him play, he actually might have a career best year from here on out because he's getting involved at stoppages a lot. I remember as a junior, I think his junior numbers were like off the charts. So is this kind of his natural role, like playing halfback, then pushing up the ground, attending, being at the back of stoppages? He's playing a lot. He's like pushing up into like the forward 50. That's where they want him as well. They're delivering it inside 50. And I think in the first few weeks he was kind of lost. And I think that's what sort of happened, why he scored the 20, because he was just trying to get handball receives the whole time. And then he just went back to his natural game as a junior, from what I know. And that's, winning the ball himself. So he's gone back to that. I think he could go 105 plus from here on out if he continues the way in his current role. Beveridge said that his role is evolving, whatever that means. So I don't know. Like,
what does that mean?
That's Bevo speak for don't pick this guy in Supercoach. This is what Dunkley's role evolved last year. How do we feel about that?
Well, I think a few weeks ago he said that, and now they've kind of found the formula because Daniel's been one of their better players the past few weeks, whereas I thought he had no impact the first few weeks. It's an interesting one because, I don't know what they do with him for sure. And he has periods, twice he's had periods where he's scored nothing, and then the back half of the game he's just gone 80 points or something.
Well, that was roll. Bevo, I didn't see much of the game, but because it was on the other TV and I was obviously watching the Tigers. Quarter time, you look at Bevo, every break the man's just got the board in front of him, and you can just see him flicking 1,000 magnets around. It's this guy loves just moving players around. So it's always worrying that these going to happen. So that's my worry, but I love him as a player, so I'm getting him back. And because of price, I sort of have to. So him and Hall is sort of the duo I've set on, but that's his role. He should be playing there every week. So it's sort of annoying that he didn't for a week or two. And with that Brisbane game, I sort of obviously not expecting a 20, but I wasn't expecting a great score anyway. Down at that ground, in wet Ballarat, 8 degrees, windy, wind tunnel. They weren't going to play that solid footy that they love to play at Marvel. So I was sort of expecting that. But yeah, I will need to watch how he went on the weekend because I did miss the game. So we'll get to that at some stage.
Any thoughts, JD?
So I agree with Eno. In the film room this week, definitely be having a look at Caleb Daniel and see how he's kind of scored. I think the thing that worries me a little bit is that he's had quite favourable DT to Supercoach ratios over the last few games. But it's kind of his career is a little bit like that anyway. He just tends to score a little bit better in Supercoach than DT. So maybe it's sustainable. But I am a little bit worried about, with him being in this new role, whether or not he gets moved around. But it does make sense that if they can't use him out of the back line, using him as someone that's entering it inside 50 or being that first kick out of a contest makes a lot of sense. He could be good. 112, I think, 3-round average. I mean, if he maintains that, then he's a genius pick at 450k, 470k, whatever he is at the moment. Obviously at a very big discount from what people started him at. As I said, I want the Stewart and Whitfield in just for their buys, but I could see this pick paying off for those that have a spot. Although I just don't know how I could advocate for it, given how anti-Daniel I've been and how scared I am of Bevo just changing that role again when it doesn't work for a game or two.
Yep, fair enough. I'm not going to get him in, but I wouldn't be surprised if he works. A little bit of uncertainty, but at his price, definitely upside. Okay, someone wrote crisp here on the run sheet. Who wrote that?
I wrote that.
Wasn't me. Come on.
I wrote that
Just
only because of
bad
the.
buy, 500k.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize he had that bad buy, so I think I'd have to get Daniel.
Not the
I was
worst.
only, I was only looking at because I've got like 5'10" for a defender, 5'09", so it's sort of like a crap range. If I get Hall.
How long have you been doing this podcast for, mate? You're meant to help the listeners, not yourself. What is this?
So you still want Daniel over Crisp?
Yeah, I think
haters.
I think so. I think so.
Nah.
I do think I'd like him over Crispy, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't see that game either, but he was playing mid. Yeah, he's a clanger king. So
I know Luca in our Discord.
he's had him all year, and he's 100 average.
Crisp doing all right, but Luca does the over and unders every week. 6.5 for Crisp clangers. So usually it's over because he's a bit of a clanger bot. But
yeah, I just looked for me, sort of selfishly, what other options at that price? It's like the other one's Blake Hardwick, and do we think he's going to keep this form up, or
I have no idea.
He's a weird as one.
Yeah, definitely Crisp over him. The other thing for Crisp is like he just doesn't miss games pretty much ever.
Yeah,
But I think he's got like a spotless injury history, so that is like nice with him.
Yeah, I didn't realize the buy, so that sort of deletes him anyway.
And also Ridley looked fine on the weekend. Didn't have to play lockdown this week, so was being a bit of a seagull. But Redmond took more kickouts, I think.
Redmond's on fire.
Yeah.
Frustratingly, Ridley had a few kickouts where he just didn't play on. He just stood in the square and took them. So it'll be interesting to see what the kickout numbers were. But I remember at least 2 or 3 that happened.
I think it was one. I reckon I saw one.
George's watching like an absolute hawk.
Oh, mate, those first few weeks, one game he had 14 kickouts. I was like, make it stop. Man.
Yeah, I know.
It was so bad because he was like almost at the 50-meter arc, and you just see him turn around and run to the square. Like, oh, come on, surely someone else can do this. But anyway,
anyone can do it. That's the thing. Anyway,
rookies. So I think probably had to plan ahead last week, knowing that the rookie situation this week was a little bit everywhere, all over the place, in the sense that this week there was kind of nobody. You had to bet on going early on someone, and I'm not sure we can go early on anyone. So there's O'Connor from the Crows, Ralph Smith from the Tigers, and then who's the other one? Briggs. So I have no idea if they all play this week. I think O'Connor plays. He is a bad buy, and I want to see his time on ground more than 50. But he scored okay. He's got a midfield role, keeping Haitley out of the team. Matt Crutch has gone long term. Ralph Smith, maybe Anno can enlighten us there. And then Briggs is like, I'm not sure if they want to play him. But I think he played key position back and ruck. So I think they have Reed coming back into the team soon. So he's one where definitely don't go early, but monitor him next week. I think I like him the most out of this lot if he plays with Mumford, but we'll see. Anno, anything to say on whether Ralph Smith can hold his spot, or any thoughts on him?
It looks super tough. He could for another 2 or 3 weeks. But that's not enough. Like RCD's hit the point where he's had the price rise, and then he, will hopefully get 2 or 3 more, and then the cattle comes back, and then whether he holds or not, then I probably would lean towards no. But Ralph Smith, the same sort of thing, and he won't have had enough, price rises, maybe 1 or something, to when everyone comes back. So I know he's a different position to a lot of the guys that are out, but Lambert, Edwards, they can play for he'll just find a way out of the team if all those guys are back. But I do have queries on all of them being back. Sort of, they're not just all going to come back in 2 or 3 weeks either. They're all sort of older guys, so it's something I'd bet against them all coming back. But I just don't think Ralph Smith will hold for long enough to sort of warrant picking him up.
So I guess we see how he goes next week, and by a few looks too good to be dropped or something.
I think he's going to be a good player though.
Yeah.
Just to be, yeah.
JD, are you looking at any of these players, or would you rather go for RCD or Poulter at their elevated price?
I think I would rather RCD and Poulter at the elevated price rather than going on one of these early. The problem with going on one of these early is that then next week you're in the same problem where you don't have any rookie downgrade targets. Because in all likelihood, of the 3 that we're talking about, maybe one ends up still being a good prospect after next week. And if you've already gone early on them, then you're at the same problem where you just don't have anyone to go after. So I just couldn't see myself in good faith taking any of these, given none of them scored particularly well. None of their job security seems particularly great. They all just have too big a question marks. I agree that Briggs is probably the one that interests me the most, and I liked his effort and the way he contested. But the fact he's only just got in this round means, like, I don't know. You can't go early on them. You just can't.
But would you go RCD this week if you had the? I think you already have RCD, but if you needed to downgrade, would you do like a power to RCD this week?
Overtaking one of those other ones, yes. And yeah, I probably would downgrade. I'm lucky that I'm not in the situation where I have to do this. Because the alternative is, I think the only real alternative is you just hold a trade and don't do any trades this week. But given RCD seems to have short-term job security, in the last half, it just looked like everything clicked. You know, the first few games watching him, he had like these fumbly moments, struggled to find the ball at some points. But then in the last half, it just kind of all seemed to come together. And to me, that's a really promising sign, especially with a few more weeks of him having that job, that he could get you another 100K at least and score well on field if you're trading out a PAL. So I guess the short answer is I would go for RCD, I think, over, if you had to.
It's probably a good lesson because I think Bergman was similar. Bergman's first 2 games was very fumbly, a lot of mistakes. And then as soon as I traded him out, should have just held him on the bench, but had Combin as well, so it was a bit under pressure. But yeah, he came good eventually. So, you know, RCD looked pretty terrible to me in the first 2, but yeah, it's all, as you said, kind of clicked for him. But he was a capable rookie, so in the system, decent draft pick for a few years now. But yeah, I'm not getting him in, but wouldn't be against it if you went for him at 180K. Also Murphy in defense, and also maybe Lockie Jones. Don't think Lockie Jones will play. Just there's been no indication of him playing AFL this week. So say Murphy's another one. Murphy will be back, pretty confident. 160K. Is he one you guys are looking at this week? Eno?
Well, here's my thing. So I have to trade Bose out, and I have Cozzy sitting there, probably maxed out, you would say. Cozzy is. So, and I have to get a forward. So I can only sort of go Bose. I could go Bose down to Murphy and then like another rookie in the forward line up, and then pray that there's someone else to go Cozzy to next week. So, like, do you think Murphy's sort of a must-have in that situation? Because Highmore is obviously sitting all on our benches, and do we think he holds for much longer? I'm not too sure. He started well, but he did fade quite heavily. So, obviously Murphy's not a must-have. I don't think any sort of rookie is at this point. But yeah, it's weird. Do you think like Jones is going to come back at some stage, or there's other defender rookies down the track to where I need to get Murphy, or what?
There's only I think it's Worrell and Bianco. Oh, look, I'm just guessing, but they're doing well in their state leagues. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think either Jones or Murphy. I'm probably going to skip Jones, but see how the timing goes. I have Murphy. I'm happy with him. Has a wing role. Highly rated. Won their best and fairest in their scratch games. That was a thing last year. Their VFL best and fairest. So I'm a believer in Murphy. Yeah, he seems a little reckless, but I guess it depends on what your priorities are. Like, do you want to hold Bose for a week and field Highmore? Just downgrade Cozzy. Because then next week you might not have an option. Briggs as well. He might be. Briggs.
Let's say you don't have Bose though, and you just had Cozzy. You'd definitely downgrade him to Murphy if you didn't still have him at this point to upgrade elsewhere.
If you had to downgrade Cozzy and you couldn't upgrade him, then yes, I think you could. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm holding and fielding Cozzy this week. They've got Carlton, so I don't know. There's a chance he scores all right against them, but I'm perfectly fine with people trading him out. I think Murphy's a good option. I am probably a little bit more interested in Lockie Jones just because he's cheaper and because of their buy. And Jones scoring, like, he showed pretty good scoring potential, so I'd be pretty keen on him. I'm actually hoping that he comes back next week so I can trade him in then, because I have a feeling he's going to be a better downgrade option than some of the others we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably should stay in the team if he gets games, but we'll see, I guess. So, captains and vice captains. So, I guess the main issue is how much do we trust Gorn at the moment? I'm not too sure. Still scored pretty well in Dream Team, but I think just his hitouts. Who'd they play again? I forgot. Whoever they played, I think Pitnet was kind of getting a bit physical early, then tapered off a bit. I'm going Oliver into McRae at Marvel. I just think the Crows don't have a matchup for Oliver. Oliver and Petrarca kill us every time. And midfield's, I guess, Sloan in there helps, but yeah, we don't tag, we can't tag. We've tried to tag, it doesn't work. Crows midfield's pretty easy to score against. Riley O'Brien's pretty horribly out of form. Will go Oliver over Gorn. What are you thinking, JD?
Yeah, this week's a tricky one because once again, Gorn and Grundy don't look like great options. I mean, Rob has been pretty easy to score against, I think, for rucks, but Gorn's form hasn't been great. And I'm pretty sure Port's actually been decent at holding down opponent ruck scoring, and especially given that should be a blowout, classic flat track bully loss or beat down. I'm pretty worried whether or not Grundy scores. I don't really want to give him my captain. I'm somewhat interested in Walsh against the Hawks.
Has to be. He's my VC. Has to be.
Yeah, I think that's where I've got my VC at the moment, and then it will probably be Oliver as captain.
Yeah, exactly what I got. Yeah.
The other ones that would be interesting is you kind of want to back Merritt against North to bounce back, but I could see them trying to go after him and beat him up. Outside of that, I don't really like anyone in the Saints vs Dogs matchup. I think there's just too much of a chance that the Dogs mids kind of get locked down by someone like Steele, and they negate each other.
Still goes to Bont every time.
Yeah, he does. They do tend to go head to head, and I think Bont's scored okay, but never amazing. So maybe McRae can go really big still. But yeah, I like Walsh and Oliver. I think if you had someone like Guthrie, then he's a really interesting VC or C option against Gold Coast. And Lions, if you had him from Brisbane Lions, then him against the Tigers as a VC option is a good one as well.
I think, yeah, Lions and Guthrie are probably the two most obvious choices. What are you thinking? I know you're doing Walsh as well.
Yeah, look, North just had their three best mids, right, from the weekend. Simpkin, Cunnington, and probably LDU had 60 contested pill and 49 something clearances. Again, it's stupid. Come on. They got absolutely spanked the Hawks, so you expect Carlton to do the same. Honestly say Hawks are in a worse position than North, on the record. Seriously, that club, it just doesn't really have direction. So,
yeah.
The King, Samuel, to dominate.
Yeah, I don't know what that's another topic, but Hawthorn, yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their list.
At least North know where they're at, mate. Hawks still thought they were right.
Nope.
Anyway.
You know what? I think I'm sold. I'll do Walsh into Oliver. Sounds good. I think that's about it. Solid effort, boys. JD, thanks so much for coming on. Welcome.
Thanks for having me again.
I think you're a mainstay now. It's just if the kids are keeping you occupied or not. Yeah, I love having you on, JD. But thanks for joining again.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Pleasure as always.
Yes, mate. Very good. Let's see if I can go up this week.
I think your team's not that bad. I think you're just a week behind.
Shut up, mate. So, it's terrible. It's terrible.
You got James Jordan at least. You'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, that's done me well.
You finish 1K every year. You'll finish 1K again. You'll be fine.
We'll see.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week.